So I've tried to record a video a few times and for whatever reason it just keeps on coming up really glitchy. So I'm trying my best today to not say so many M's. I'm going to be a little bit more focused about it and hopefully they don't spew out of my mouth like verbal diarrhea, but we'll see how we get on. Yesterday we spent, myself and my ex-husband spent the majority of the day in the Central Criminal Court because a friend of ours was murdered by a 17-year-old who was a month away from being 18, killed our friend in Ongar village 2 years ago. So I kind of just wanted to talk a little bit about that, how it transpired yesterday, and just kind of speak about it, I suppose. So he was known to a lot of people around Ongar and Blanchardstown. So many people would have known who he was. So he was known as Aaron Keating to everybody else, but he was skinny to us. He was my husband's, one of my husband's best friends since my husband was 17. So in the court yesterday, it was very tough because listening to the defence attorney downplay what the defendant did to our friend. And I know it's his job and I know he's there to get him a lesser sentence, but the stuff that he was saying was really hard to listen to. We were outside the courts before the full case started to be heard. Again, it was a sentencing. He did plead guilty, which is, he didn't do it for the family. He didn't do it for anybody else. He did it for a lesser sentence. He was a month away from turning 18, which already means that he does not automatically have to get a life sentence, because he was technically a minor, even though he killed Aaron on the 13th of June 2023, and on the 13th of July he would have been 18, and there's not even one part of what he did that was accidental or I didn't mean to do what he did. I'll go into it in a few moments, but yesterday we were taken outside the court, or we were sitting outside the court with the detectives, and we were shown the video of Aaron being stabbed by this absolute tiny little scrote of a person who decided that Aaron wasn't worthy of life and was just a junkie who had mental problems, and that I'm just going to do it. He basically said in there, or it was said by his defence attorney, that he did it because he thought that Aaron was going to get him first. Nobody's buying that, because anyone who knew Aaron knew that there was no violence in Aaron. Yes, he had mental problems. Yes, he had drug problems, but he was a gentle soul. Everyone in Ongar knew it, and even when he died, there was many vigils done in the aftermath of what happened to him, and it was only pure love and joy for the person that was one of them. That's what they felt of him in the village. So it was played to us and his family. Myself and his family were together, and my husband was there as well. And to watch what this person did, literally in a split second, like 5 seconds or less, it was over, and our beautiful friend was killed. It was unbelievable. And to hear the defence attorney turn around and say, well, he didn't repeatedly stab him, and, he'd no previous convictions and whatever else, what utter bullshit. He actually attempted to stab him twice. So the first time he missed, so you can clearly see him try to stab him once, quite ferociously. And then the second time he got him, and he managed to sever an artery. So in the video, you see our poor friend, see him run along. This person, 17-year-old, ran to an apartment that was close by of one of his friends, and he obtained a knife. And he came out of that apartment with his t-shirt wrapped around his head to disguise his head. And Aaron saw him coming. And when Aaron saw him coming, he knew it wasn't good, and he tried to back away, but he was into a corner. And before he knew him, this person ran and literally ran straight into him. Aaron had no choice. So it literally was a case of Aaron, as soon as he was stabbed, he was jumping up and down with his arms in the air. And to me, it looked like he was trying to big himself up, I'm not scared of you kind of thing. But the detective told me, no, he's more than likely screaming in pain. And it didn't look that way to me, but maybe it was that way. But, obviously we don't know. And if anybody around Ongar knows where, the Dunn store's door that isn't opened at the front, and that solicitor's office that's just there beside Domino's and the Dunn Store's door. He was backed into that corner. I didn't even know where I thought it happened on the ramp under the arches, but it didn't. He managed to get to where the arches was on the ramp, and the video that we have of it that we were shown where the actual event had taken place literally finished at Domino's, and right out of the shot he was standing at Domino's, and then right out of the shot he was on the ground. So that's how quickly it was. There was a beautiful woman who was a bystander who was passing by, and she ran to Aaron and she got down with Aaron and she held his hand, and Aaron squeezed her hand back and she said the Our Father to him, and he was squeezing her hand back when he was obviously dying. And I tell you, I'll never in a million years not be so grateful to that woman that she loved him and cared for him in that moment, that he had somebody with him that helped him, and he wasn't alone, and he knew she was holding his hand because he was squeezing it back. And I think the family, and certainly when I heard it, I would be forever grateful to that woman for what she did, because at least he didn't leave the world knowing he was alone. Somebody was looking after him when he was going, and it was just absolutely heartbreaking to think, of what happened to him. But I wanted to talk about the Aaron that I knew. So Aaron was known as Skinny to us. He was always known as Skinny. He was just an absolute nutcase, always a nutcase. Before he was a nutcase, he was just bonkers. And we used to go to a bar. We used to drink in the Buddha Bar, what was the Buddha Bar, which is now Krispy Kreme's in Blanchardstown. But we used to drink there religiously. And then the odd time we'd be in West, and we never really liked West, so we wouldn't really drink there that much. But there was one night that I remember him being in West, and it was late in the night. So we were probably all pissed as farts. And he started breakdancing in the middle of West. And he was a phenomenal dancer, absolutely phenomenal. And the whole bar was just circled around him, screaming, clapping. He was just amazing. And that's the type of person that he was. Like, I've described him since he's died as the most beautiful light. That's how I can describe him. I can't describe him any other way than that, because he was just the most charismatic, vivacious, beautiful soul that you would ever meet, that had no badness in him, full of loyalty, full of crack, just full of life. And he just was so loyal to his friends to the core. And for that reason, he was just the most amazing person in the world. We had two friends that had, one owned an apartment in Waterville in Blanchardstown, and the other person was Skinny, who rented the apartment directly across the hall. So it was literally 2 doors on a hallway. And oh my God, the shit that we used to do in there was literally, we would have one party in one and the doors would be open, and it was 2 completely different environments when you'd get into them. One of them was the guy who owned it. He was from Castleknock, and he was always up his own hole, and he wasn't a particularly nice person, so he wasn't around forever in the group. But it would be champagne and cocaine in his apartment. And then in Skinny's apartment, it would just be stoner central, and whatever goes, whatever you want, you could have in Skinny's. If you spilled something on the ground, it's fucking grand. It's great, but not the same in the other apartment. So the parties were always so different, and it was just such an amazing time for us all to be in our 20s and experience that. There was plenty of drug taking that happened between all of us in our 20s. I wasn't a particular user of class A drugs. They weren't really for me. They weren't what did it for me, really, to be perfectly honest. The last thing I needed was an upper. I haven't even done a pill in my life, but I have tried other class A drugs. But as I said, it was never my cup of tea. I wasn't really a big drug taker unless there was a joint going. If there was a joint going, I'd always smoke that. And probably more of a mellow person than I would have been the rest. But I did one time do mushrooms, and oh my God, like, that was the most comical thing I think I've ever done in my entire life. I never did a hallucinogenic before, but like, it was just the fucking funniest night of my life. I think we ended up, we had a wee sport at home, and we used to play bowling religiously. And yeah, apparently we were just, fucking spectacular at bowling, that, it warranted going down to the Leisureplex at 2 o'clock in the morning. When we got there, we realised we were utter shite. It's not the fucking way. It's literally, you're high as a kite, really, and you ain't good at bowling. So yeah, those